From the News Channel 5 Network, this is Inside Politics.
Hello, everyone. I'm News Channel 5's political analyst, Pat Nolan. Welcome to Inside Politics. Over this nation's 240-plus year history, nothing has united and sometimes divided us more than the United States in this country, like our flag. Stars and Stripes have created a long and rich history, which is captured in a new book. Actually, it's an encyclopedia. It's compiled by Dr. John Weil, a professor of political science and dean of the Honors College at Middle Tennessee State University. Dr. Weil is our guest today on Inside Politics to discuss his work and to give us a taste of what you'll find in his work. And its full title is The American Flag, an Encyclopedia of the Stars and Stripes in U.S. History, Culture, and Law. Dr. Weil, you're a frequent guest on this show. Thanks so much for coming back on this topic.
Enjoyed being here.
Let's begin our conversation by dispelling a myth, despite the fact that we were all taught this in school.
Maybe we should end with this. Some people are going to be upset with us.
Betsy Ross, even though we were all told she did design and make the first American flag, that's not true. But what was her role and how did the myth get started?
Okay. She was a flag maker, and she was in Philadelphia. And she had a pretty interesting life. There's actually been a great biography written
And
about
she made
her.
American flags.
She made American flags. As far as we can tell with the chronology, the flag that she was supposed to have made was made before Congress had specified what it was supposed to be. And the meeting that she was supposed to have, which is immortalized in numerous pictures and paintings, with George Washington couldn't have happened because he was out fighting the beginning of the Revolutionary War.
And she had descendants that were perhaps a little overgenerous in her role in that?
She did. She had a grandson, and it may not have been, it may not have been something intentionally false, but he gave a speech in like the 1860s or 70s, quite a long time after she passed away, telling these stories that he had heard when he was, I think, 8 or 10 years old was when she died. So this is sort of family lore passed down that she had done this. Now, what's interesting is there is a woman, Mary Pickersgill, in Baltimore, who did design the pattern was sort of set, but the so-called Star-Spangled Banner'flag that flew over Fort McHenry, that was done by a woman and her helpers.
Now, the origins of the flag, as you mentioned, date back to roughly 1777 in the Continental Congress. We had to have a flag because, A, we were a new nation, but also there was a military purpose. We needed to know who were the good guys and the bad guys on the battlefield, and especially at sea.
Particularly at sea, as I discuss in the book, in the early years, it was more common to fight under either regimental colors or, maybe the Don't Tread on Me flag or the Palmetto flag if you were from, the South or South Carolina.
Or ones with Lady Liberty or Columbia on them.
Right. There, and the pine tree flag was fairly common in New England.
Well, was there a competition in Congress to decide which one they were going to pick, or did they just pick this one anyway?
Well, they didn't actually write out the design. They specify that you would have the, you're not coming to the right term. The canton would be stars amidst, the blue, and then the stripes. Hopkinson is the person who's believed to have designed the flag. He was actually, and he also worked on designing the Great Seal of the United States.
Now, in the early years, the flag was certainly a major symbol, but when we went into battle, up until the War of 1812, you're much more likely to see regimental flags, and I think that continued all the way through the Civil War. Well, but over the years, the use of our American flag became more and more prominent, particularly in our military.
It did, particularly in the Mexican War, 1848-ish. We have records of it's actually, being used in battle. But today it's, well, I guess you have increased respect for the flag. Now that's counterposed to it's such a vital symbol that when people want to protest, you might see it burned or you might see somebody taking a knee. But most of that was sort of Civil War and after, and particularly then magnified by the Spanish-American War.
Now, over the years, the flag was modified somewhat. It used to be every time a state was admitted to the Union in the early years, there was a stripe added as well as a star. But pretty quickly, the stripes, adding that many stripes became impractical.
Yes, one of the fascinating things, and about the flag is the Star-Spangled Banner'flag, which is, they spent maybe more than that, $1 million to preserve at the Smithsonian Institute. It actually had 15 stars at a time when I think there were 17 states. They had not yet added the last two, but it also had 15 stripes.
That may answer another question. Tennessee was the 16th state, so it was possible that Tennessee should have not only had a star added in 1796, there should have been a stripe added, but you don't think the flag was ever updated to include a stripe for Tennessee before they decided just to go to 13 stripes?
I know that there were 15 stripes in 1812. The Star-Spangled Banner flag, and it was shortly after that they just, think about it, particularly since it was so important at sea. If you had a pinstripe, it would not have done a lot. It would not have been very visible.
Now, we also had a change in the stars, and you got a tie on it. A lot of the star configuration there is quite different. One of them says 1776 with some of them in circles. Eventually, they became to those rows of stars. Why did they decide that, again, just too many stars got to be overwhelming on the flag?
Yeah, let me back up with something that I sort of left out that is really important. The symbolism of the flag. One of the things there's a lot of confusion about are the colors. You'll find, and I can remember as a kid reading all the red stands for valor and whatever. Probably not. I mean, you can make it stand for whatever you want, but that's not by congressional enactment. That just sort of happened. And I think I had another point, and I'm going to play a Rick Perry here and tell you I can't remember what it was.
Well, I suspect red was important because it'd be easily seen if you're at sea, particularly.
Now I got it. The colors actually came basically from the British flag, but the primary symbolism in the American flag are the stars, and they were to represent. It was a astronomical symbol. They were to represent a new constellation. And one of the reasons, let's see if I don't know if I have a Betsy Ross flag here, but Betsy Ross is usually one in the center with the others around it. But that really doesn't work too well in the United States, because that's more a monarchical symbol. In the monarchs in Europe, you would have the star king or queen or whatever, and the United States, we had a new constellation, and you could add to it as new stars, new states entered. Dr.
John Viles, our guest from Middle Tennessee State University. He has an encyclopedia out on the American flag. It's a fascinating book. It's a big book, but one you probably want to read. We'll talk more to Dr. Viles after we take this break.